Hey folks, this is Brian. I'm going to one more Far Horizons update out tonight. I just got finished with some of my article research gathering, and hopefully my research question will work. Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, so this next couple of episodes, again, remember I talked last time about I got notes on both sides of the paper, and do these apply with that side or this side, and that kind of stuff going on. And we've got some transition of players in here that gets confusing. So I'll try and string it together so it makes sense for the notes I have, though they may not be in order. How's that sound? Okay. Dylan's personal log. We woke a freaking forerunner. She spoke to us about the war and the Empress who sought the dark power. There are forces in the universe that are trying to free the Empress's creatures. There are hidden forces that are manipulating those around us. That are trying to destroy civilization. She told us about the two others who came, we assume being Huntleyworth and Joey. The building we're in, we've been calling the villa, is a temple of understanding, and each door is for a different species. When our races were young, they had spaces here in order to meet and to retreat to. So like a summer palace. She tells us there are shadows moving about that must be stopped. And she enlists us to aid her. She just tells us a couple of things. Her grandfather apparently had killed the Empress. This group of people called the Asari. There's a group called the Eyes of War, and they are keeping the demons at bay. She does want us to work on removing the Corellians from the sector. She tells us the Count is, in fact, alive. She even gives us the coordinates where he is, although when we check it out on the space chart, she's just empty space. But then she cautions us about not going there unless we're invited. She creates for us a duplicate of the statue and gives us all what are commonly known as immortality alpha pills. So essentially, I believe we are not going to grow old. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. How long does she expect us to be helping her with this war? That is a question for another time. So we decide to go back to camp. But the next morning, we spot someone out walking on the ice. We try to get his attention, but he's oblivious to us. And if he doesn't fall down and freeze to death, one of those squid things or one of the cat deals or something else is going to get him. So Rex jumps on the snowmobile and rides out to try to get him. It turns out that this is one of our guides, and he tells us that some folks had come by and killed everybody else in the base camp. It's soon after this that two ATVs come around the north side of the mountain to where we can see them. So we set up in the mountainside and side in. I've got my Gauss rifle. And the first round goes into the transaxle of the first one. It grinds to a stop. The other one screeches to a halt. They don't hit, but then a turret pops up out of the back of the second one, and it starts firing up towards the mountain. So these aren't ATVs. These are armored fighting vehicles that are disguised as ATVs. So I sight in on the second one and fire shot right down the freaking barrel of that gun, the turret gun. Secondary explosions, windows shatter, smoke billowing everywhere. It was great. Up another round into the first ATV. At that point, there's a few guys trying to scramble out. These guys are in combat body armor and they've got blast rifles. They start firing up at us. In between, I don't know if I actually shoot any of them, but between the rest of us, we gun them down. And then we go and check them out. These guys are hitmen of some kind. They've got tattoos. Some are mobile infantry, some are the mining guild, some are criminal type tattoos that some of us are familiar with, that kind of thing. So we gather up their body armor, we gather up the blast rifles, throw them in our ATV, and then we crosswire the batteries on these suckers so they heat up, melt down through the ice, and disappear. We grab our guide, we get back to the villa, defrost him, and we end up going back to the beach house, well, the cabin on the beach, and there are now 5 rooms instead of 4, one for each of us. Weird stuff. And this is where we met Maliki. That was the Forerunner's name, Maliki. That's what she called herself anyway. When we agreed to do her deal, she gave us these rings. Yeah, you can't see them, I know. But we can use them to contact her and to commune. She also did something to us that opened psychic powers, or psionic powers. So we got to keep that under wraps, because if anybody finds out about that kind of stuff, we're dead. If anybody finds out about the Immortality Alpha stuff, we're dead. If anybody finds out about Forerunner stuff, we're dead. After we get him up, okay. I go back to the Astro Lab because I want to do this pictogram study thing, trying to track some stuff down. And I can go rimward and I can go spinward outside of the Horsehead Nebula. And south of Galactic Center in Cygnus is a globular cluster. And in that globular cluster is the toroid planet. It's about 20,000 light years away. And we can still at times hear Maliki, and whether that's her or if it's the AI running this thing or whatever, I'm not sure, but I hear that there is a faster way that I could walk there if only something. I'm only assuming it's got to be this psionic stuff, or maybe it's just Forerunner technology. Who knows? She tells us, where did that go? That the hyperspace that's presented within the temple here is not ethereal. What that's supposed to mean. The bug gun, the Tory planet, is in fact a Forerunner device, but it's not the black hole gun that we saw destroying the planet. She also helps clarify for me that the ship that I saw previously rides the essence flows to travel among the spheres. But in fact, the teardrop was a bubble shape, and within it was in fact a free massive schooner. Yeah, weird stuff. She mentions that her grandfather's in a pocket dimension, and that the statue is a navigation key that was created by her grandfather. We get back to, back to the lab, and while we're there, a bed comes up out of the ground with a guy on it. He wakes up, he's a little disoriented. I want to say he's got an artificial arm, if I remember right. And the doc pulls his gun. I grab the guy, throw him up against the wall, put my gun to his head, and ask him what makes him so special. That this place picked him up, but was fighting us finding anything. Really, really upset me. But he doesn't know. Doesn't seem to know much of anything. And the AI here at this place tells us to leave him alone. And that he's a member of the servitor race. So I asked the doc, hey, is this guy even human? And the doc pulls out his sensor gear stuff, and the guy is acting really sketchy. And is trying to keep away from him, and then asks if he can see this scanning module. I guess he's afraid it might become some kind of weapon or something, but he drops it and it breaks. Yeah, we should have dropped and broke him. Well, it turns out that this guy was a survivor of the first camp that got hit by the hitmen, and that some Forerunner device rescued him and brought him here. He's actually from Marduk, like a lot of the rest of us. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Okay, so we all get together and try to figure out. We need to come up with a single story, because we can't tell anybody about the pills. We can't tell anybody about the villa, the temple. We can't tell anybody about Maliki. We can't tell anybody about the rings. We can't tell anybody about the psionics. But we were sent here. Well, people knew we were coming here. So when we decided to go back to the resistance, I guess is what we'll call it, the folks that the count works for, that we were working with. We completed the mission, that we got the journal, we completed the mission. We've got the journal, we've got the statue, we've got the spear and the map. We went for a search. We found a Forerunner villa, but it was ransacked. And then we got ambushed. One of the things that Maliki mentions to us, I mentioned about this ring, is that we can use it to commune with her. Oh, she also has a chat with the spear, and it straightens out. So we go back to Baphomet, hit our old safe house, go through the place, make sure it's pretty much empty, and then we hide out our stuff there. And then we contact the CSA reps. We get taken into one of their facilities, and there's something odd about this elevator. And we kind of figure out there must be inertial dampeners, because when we come out, we're escorted to a conference room, and the conference room's got windows that look out over the city, but I could have swore we went down, not up. So we give them the story. They tell us they're going to send us to Agni. It's the third planet in the Kali sector. It's a desert planet, 200 million population. It's industry poor. There's a religious group called the Solarian Brotherhood. They're an anti-pure Earth group, completely secular. But they have several branches, including the Unity Party, which is the party that's in charge of the government, the planetary government at this time. Although everything is still, being oppressed and overseen by Corellians. And there are other groups that are trying to wrest control from the Unity Party. There are some fanatical groups. There have been assassinations of the Unity Party leaders. And the Corellians are using nukes to control the violence. So they want us to go there and investigate they make contact with local CSA guys there and help them with an investigation. Okay, so they send us back to the Casino Royale for some downtime. So we spend a couple weeks just chilling, a few weeks doing research and practice, and then we spend a couple weeks ourselves out on one of the camping islands, trying to commune with Maliki and figure out more of what she wants us to do and how this stuff works. Close log. Okay, now we can actually get to some interesting stuff dealing with RQ3, the mechanics and stuff. I did mention earlier that we did some downtime on Baphomet before, and when we get these downtime opportunities, that's when we do our skill increase checks and do actual training. I did mention before about how the training is slightly different than what RQ3 is, but it's similar. So all the skills we've been checking for the last half dozen sessions, if I get a chance to make some increased rolls. And then we do some more training research kind of stuff. I work some more on my contragrav, my handgun skills, scuba, and astronomy. Those are my things I'm messing with. But because we're using RQ3 and we're rolling, percentile under our skill percentages, and I didn't mention this during character creation, but we were given so many points, percentage points to distribute among all our skills. And I split mine half and half between, Space Marine kind of stuff and education, archaeology, administration, oratory kind of stuff for when I was the professor. That's how I did my stuff. Which is why some of my combat skills aren't really all that great. I only spent 4 tours, and most of that went into my Gauss rifle. get some blaster stuff and flamers and all the other normal things, and a whole bunch of survival, just minimal survival stuff, the different things, some space combat and some combat other stuff. But all these skills are space opera skills from the space opera character sheet, and they're all put into the categories. They may have been the GM may have assigned the categories, agility, manipulation, knowledge, communication, that kind of stuff for these space opera skills. And then you got the generic sort of Runequest skills, sneak, hide, jump, that kind of stuff is all normal. But anyway, getting back to the 3 Gauss rifle rounds. The one that went down the barrel of the turret gun was a critical success. And we were rolling, I forgot how many dice damage for the actual impact of the round itself. But then it's high explosive armor piercing, so the high explosive did extra dice of damage inside the ATV thing. And this is going to come in later on because the GM and I are going to work. Hopefully there'll be a session where it'll come up the damage stuff, because we're trying to take the space opera weapons, which is what the system is based on, the setting is set on, into Runequest, which is what the engine, the mechanics are based on. And RQIII has a guns and future weapons supplement out there somewhere that I got my hands on. And so we try to pull some of that, and we just try to pull some stuff from BRP. So I still have the middle section of Worlds of Wonder, which had Future World, Super World, well, it had basic role playing, and it had Super World, and it had Future World, and it had Magic World. And then the center section had how these different types of weapons all cross-reference. For example, Force Blades and Blaster weapons can be stopped by counter magic, right? And that Blast force fields can stop certain magical or superpowers and that kind of stuff, right? So it's pretty cool. But then I've got all the damage from those charts too, because it's all those 4 pages of stuff. And so that's what we went to first. And then we pulled some of this BRP, and some of the damage was getting excessive. And we're trying to balance, okay, actual damage versus what's realistic, and then the armor, the space opera armor, how much is that absorbing? And then we start talking about, bronze versus iron and RQIII, right? Armor points go up a half again. Well, that iron, then you get steel, and you've got this, that, the other, duralloy, how far are we going to let that go, kind of stuff. So I'll be sharing some of that later on. Shoot, we're at almost 24 minutes. Happy gaming.